What's up? Welcome to the four-man front. I forgot we were doing this until about an hour ago, so we're going to raw dog it. That's a technical professional term. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the four-man front. I'm Grant Cohn. That's Ryan G. Hensley, Jessie Naylor, the coach. At the coach's huddle, the 49ers are not practicing Brock Purdy. Well, he was out there handing off and stuff. He threw one screen pass. It was glorious. Nick Bosa and Trent Williams, though, didn't practice. Trent Williams was like almost in a body cast, man. Like he was in one of those little scooters that you have when you have like a mangled leg and you like want to have it. You know what I'm talking? The little scooter with the leg thing? He was on the scooter with the leg thing. Are the Niners punting this season? Is this over? Are they packing it in? What do you guys think?
I don't.
They're packing it in.
Yeah. Go ahead, coach.
Like, dog, come on, son. Fred Warner gives it up to the media that he's got a fracture in one of the bones of his ankles. Come on. Who gives up that type of information? What is this?
He was like F-R-A-C-T. Make sure you write this. F-R fracture. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. Oh my God, did I say that? Make sure you get this down.
What is this? What are you doing? I understand these moves. I'm aware of you. Listen, how are you going to start trickling out all of these injuries? Now Trent is on the Walmart scooter, walking around the locker room. Now Brock doesn't know when he's going to be ready. We have to figure out what's going on with the window of Dre Greenlaw. Listen. Part of being a championship team is knowing how to lose. And that's part of something that they still have not found out how to do. Lose well and know how to bounce back. And that was my biggest question that I want to see is that do they have the stomach for these next 6 weeks, right? If it's not going to be a Super Bowl effort or a playoff effort. We understood that there was going to be a time where they had met a crossroads where it was either we're going to play for the season or people are going to start making business decisions. And all of these phantom injuries are going to start coming out, which, to be honest, most of these injuries are not different from last year. But these are the injuries that will be mum is the word because they're trying to go get a Super Bowl and they're trying to go to the playoffs. That's not a factor now. So, people are going to start building culpable deniability so we can get out them hefty bags. So you start clearing out them locker rooms. So that's how I feel.
First of all, I want to say happy Thanksgiving to everybody in the chat. We weren't going to have a show as of an hour ago, but we told Grant to lock in. He's here. He locked in.
I locked in. I just needed a little reminder. Shout out to D-Dub.
I want to bring it back to something you said, Coach, about can this team stomach the next 6 weeks? And that's why I don't think they are tanking. I don't think their ego will let them tank. Now, I think they know in their heart of hearts, and I said this a few weeks ago, I think they know that they're not that team. They have a false bravado about them, but that does not mean that they're actively tanking. I don't think, you've got Debo with a podcast, you've got Fred with a podcast, you've got 30 free agents on this team, potential free agents that are trying to get paid. You got Greenlaw who's fighting just to come back so that he can show the league he still has something. You have Brock that's trying to get paid actively this offseason. There is so much at stake for so many of these players. I don't think they're actively trying to tank, but they should be because they're not going to beat Buffalo. And as long as the Seahawks beat the Jets or somehow the Cardinals beat the Vikings, if the 49ers lose to the Buffalo Bills like we all think they will, they're now 2 games back with 5 to play. It's over. It's been over. We've known that. I think they've known that. But I don't know that they're actively trying to tank because there's too much at stake for way too many individuals on this roster, in my opinion.
And I'm going to add that if you are raw dogging it, that shows commitment and real love. You know what I mean? Shows where your head's at. So I actually think this is a good thing.
So that's what that means. I was just using words.
What you did there.
They're tanking against their will. Yeah, you'll know when they're purposely tanking when Fred Warner says, "Okay, this ankle has been a problem. I can't play anymore. That's when they'll purposely tank. Or if they say Greenlaw is not coming back, that's when you know they're purposely tanking. I think they're tanking against their will. Jessie probably right, like they should be, because who thinks they're going to beat Buffalo? I don't. So I think the season is a lost cause, and at some point they will start tanking, and you'll see that, and you'll know when Fred Warner stops playing, and when Greenlaw, when they say, okay, we tried Greenlaw, but he's done for the year, he'll be back next year. That's when you'll really know that it's a purposeful tank. But right now, I think it's tanking against your will.
Maybe I'm delusional. I was in the locker room today. The vibe I get from this team is that they know they're going to lose to Buffalo. I mean, it's their second East Coast trip in a week, and Buffalo's coming off a bye, and they're at home. So, like, yeah, you're screwed. You're definitely screwed. But the week after that, they have the Bears, and then the week after that, they have the Rams, and then the week after that, they have Miami in Miami. I think this team thinks they can reel off 3 wins in a row. Not that they will. I think they can. And then it just comes down to, in their minds, do they beat Detroit? Or maybe they think they could possibly sneak into – they can't win this division with 9 wins, right?
No.
So, okay. So they lose, and then they'd have to win out. And I think they can win 4 of the next 5, and it just comes down to them against Detroit. And maybe Jared Goff breaks his face between now and then, and something weird happens. Who knows? But I still think that, look at Debo. Did you see his? Yeah, we're better than our record is, and we're fine. Like, I think they can do it, which is amazing to me because they haven't locked in yet, but they're going to. They're going to.
Look at their O-line. Look at their O-line. No Trent Williams. Is Banks playing? Is Pooney?
Jalen Moore didn't do so bad, to be honest with you.
Is Pooney playing? Is Banks playing?
But the question is, who's going to play against Chicago? They're going to lose. They're going to lose by a lot this weekend. But is Trent going to play against Chicago? Is Purdy going to play against Chicago? Is Greenlaw going to play against Chicago? Does their season start week 14?
What?
Debo said today that everything is in front of them. Or who said that? Someone said everything is still in front of us. You have like 6 games left. What are you talking about? Everything is still in front of you. Something is still in front of you.
Everything's behind you.
2/3 of it is behind you. Yes, 2/3 of it.
Talking about everything's in front of you. Stop.
Mikkel Sorensen be removed before season's end.
No, you know what? Stop with the Nick Sorensen slander. All right. We knew what Nick Sorensen was when we got him. Let's not do this. Let's stop acting like we picked up Vic Fangio or we picked up some Mike Vrabel or some defensive mind that was going to come put the team on his ear. We're going to stay here if we don't learn how we got here. You see what I'm saying? And how we got here was by staying in the wide 9, letting the prisoners run the prison, by saying that we want a certain coach because we don't like being changed or adapted to. And that's why we're here right now. So I feel like it's disingenuous to say, well, what's going on with Nick Sorensen? It's like, dude, Nick Sorensen's not really the DC, bro. Like, what are we doing here? Like, it's not him.
Sir Cash Money says, howdy crew. In case you didn't hear, lately Kendrick has been in the news. Apparently, it's because he's got some beef with Drake. I'll keep you all updated when I hear more. This may go viral.
I love Sir Cash Money's super chats, man. They're hilarious.
He's hilarious. My question for the group real quick is, who's having a worse 2024, Drake or Kyle Shanahan?
Drake.
Definitely Drake.
Come on, man. Litigation is now involved. It's Drake.
Yeah. I would have to agree. Drake's having the worst year I think I've ever seen. Wow.
So bad.
It keeps getting worse.
Yeah.
And I liked Squabble Up is a good song. I think I like Squabble Up better than Not Like Us because it's not about Drake. I'm sorry.
That's my thing with Squabble Up. I like what? TV Off though.
I like Murals. What's the Murals one? The first one on the whole album. That's my favorite.
Oh, Murked Out My Mural. Oh, yeah. That is tough.
I like Squabble Up. That's a great beat, and it's very Bay Area. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I like the joint with SZA too. That joint is hard.
Yeah.
The Jedi says, get rid of Lynch, lay the seeds of change. Matt McEwen says the only dates they could lock up for Cabo are the 8th and 16th. Screw the playoffs. Cabo, here we come. 1, 2, 3, Cancun. Fish and Chip says Cohn, franchise tag, coach, plus Jess, restricted free agent, Ryan.
What's that? Rookie of the year?
Yeah. Michael says, what does Kyle's past with us have to do with him going forward? Our fans like to bring it up to defend him. For years to come, they'd lose in a courtroom. It's a good point. moving forward. I want to talk about Purdy's future. He's not throwing right now. He's got an injury to his throwing arm. It's the second one he's had in 3 seasons. He's, I don't know. Is this guy for sure their franchise quarterback? Do they have to dock him some money in their contract offer? Is he losing money? And is he on the verge of not getting an extension? Like, what's at stake for him right now?
Can I bring the violence?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, bring it.
Oh yeah.
Because like the longer I do this, the more I care less about what people think of me. So I might as well just bring the violence right now. Like this might be the end of the Brock Purdy era. Like this might be the beginning of the end for the Brock Purdy era. I
stepping out of his dink and dunk shell, y'all. Watch out.
Hey, like if this guy is seriously like trending this direction where he's gonna have arm issues,
talk your shit, man.
This could be the beginning of the end for Brock Purdy, man. I don't think he's playing this weekend. If he does, he's gonna be not himself. I don't see how he's 100% Brock Purdy this weekend, and that's 2 arm injuries within 3 years. This isn't a good look, man. I think he's lost himself a lot of money, and this could be the beginning of the end for the Brock Purdy era. We could have a new quarterback in 2 years.
Well, I want to know what you have to say about this, Coach, because we had a similar conversation in the offseason, and I said if Brock Purdy gets hurt, like he's not getting paid. You're like, $60 million, lock it in. It doesn't matter what happens to Brock. So I want to see if now that it's happened.
My opinion, and then like preface it with me being wrong.
No. I just want to know. I want to know if you changed your tune on this.
I want to hear what Coach has to say because we were talking about this and he was way off. But go ahead, do it now.
Exactly. So,
are you still way off? Is the question.
You jackass.
You still have that really stupid opinion that you had on the phone that you were previewing to me because I think it was dumb. But go ahead, I want to hear it.
Way to tee me up, Jess. God. So, all right, look. No, I have changed my tune. I don't think that he's going to get paid $60 million a year. I think that he would get the Dak deal, in my opinion, which essentially is kind of like a little bit more of an expensive Baker deal. I think that 50 is the new 40 in this cap, in this cap area. And I think that him asking for anything in the realm of 50 and up would be way too much. I think that in my opinion, the Baker deal for him getting paid high 30s is perfect for what he has. As far as his skill level, his injury history, his future injury history. And also, we say this all the time, but it's important to bring up every time we come in this area of the team. Contracts are not for what you've done. They're for what you're going to do. Right. So it's paced out for how you're going to be able to earn that money moving forward. I think that Brock making mid-30s a year is perfect for what we've seen thus far. We've had 3 years of him, 2 years that he's been here. He's been hurt. That's important. That counts. I mean, if we can give him credit for the comeback, we can also count the fact that he got hurt. So in my opinion, I don't want to mortgage anything else. We've done enough with names, and maybe we'll be able to get an offensive line if we don't pay him. So biggest thing is I don't want to pay him $60 million and watch him run around the whole damn time. Like that's big. The biggest thing right now is like you could really be cutting off your nose to spite your face by giving him 60. Right. And then we've got some guys also, and I'm gonna close with this. We got some guys also that are gonna be making money where I don't know, he could get a pay cut, but what is Brandon Ayuk gonna be when he gets back with all that money, man? So in my opinion, I think they could really pivot on this whole huge exodus of money. They just been paying guys. They can kind of put their foot down with Brock. He can kind of be the first guy moving forward, like, hey. And then you know what? How quarterbacks get paid kind of trickles down to how the rest of the team gets paid as well, too. They could use that. Like, hey, you see how we paid for the top guy? None of you guys better come in here. There's a new day. We're changing things up. So I think that's important, too.
Well, I think Brock Purdy was already trending down a path of decreased pay, in my opinion. I know that the foregone conclusion was Brock was going to get paid $60 million and he had done enough and the 49ers were just going to do it. I'm not so sure that they were going to. I don't know that they were going to just drop $60 million. They said they were excited to pay him and everybody assumed that meant top dollar, make him the highest paid quarterback. I don't know that that was ever the case, especially when he started playing the way that he has been really since the Ravens game. And you got to remember, Brock Purdy has had essentially, 2 full seasons in the NFL when you total everything together. 1 season where he was a really, really good quarterback. And he also had an injury, but he battled back from that. And then you've got from the Baltimore game on, which is another season where he's a really average quarterback. How can you guarantee that that guy is worth the money anyways? And then you cap it off with this season also might end with an injury. So you have not only 2 season-ending injuries potentially, at the very least, if he doesn't play against Buffalo, that's 2 seasons out of the 3 where he couldn't answer the bell when they needed him most. And that's just the facts. So you add that in with average play for basically a whole season on top of that. I think paying Brock Purdy that kind of money would be reckless. I don't think that the 49ers are going to be willing to do it. I'm curious to see which path they go. Maybe they go the Jordan Love route where they say, hey, we're going to give you a lot more money this next year, but we're not going to give you extra years. At the end of that, we'll franchise tag you if we have to. We'll try to work on a contract if we think you're the guy. Yes, you're underpaid for this year. We'll rework that 1-year deal for you and make it worth your while. Maybe they go that route. Maybe they give him a 3-year deal with only 2 years guaranteed and a team option. I don't think that he's just going to get an outright 5-year deal, $50+ million a year. I just don't see that in his future. How can you? That would be irresponsible.
You know, they're very different quarterbacks, but remember Colin Kaepernick? I mean, he burst onto the scene. He went to the Super Bowl. He won hella games. And then he had a year where he went like 8-8 and he got paid. And then all of a sudden he was losing and he couldn't do it anymore. Like, is that not happening to Brock Purdy right in front of our eyes? I don't know. We don't know for sure. He had a great start to his career. He went to the Super Bowl. Over his last 15 games, he's like 8-7. He's been like really mediocre in terms of his numbers and the team's success with him or lack of success. I mean, I think the Niners were almost backing themselves into a really bad position where they had to give him a lot of money or else fans were going to be upset if they didn't pay Ayuk. Can you imagine if they were like, you know what, we're not going to pay Brock Purdy, but now that he's gotten injured, he may not play again this season. I think that this could be a blessing in disguise. All of a sudden, the Niners don't have to do this. They don't have to just give him $55 million a year. Like, even if he didn't have injury concerns, to me, he's the perfect quarterback to have on his rookie deal because he doesn't need development. He can play right away, and he's cheap as hell. But if you're going to give a guy $55 million a year, like the Packers did with Jordan Love, and maybe that he's not worth it, but there's still a chance he could become elite because of his tool. There's no chance that Brock's going to become elite. He just doesn't have that upside. He could be very freaking good, but that's not what you're paying for $55 million a year. So I don't know. I feel like the Niners have the opportunity not to make the biggest mistake ever, and we'll see what they do.
They're not going to do that. I don't think they're going to pay Brock, man. His arm has been beat up by football players more than Kim Kardashian mattress. Right? Like his arm is crashed. Right? They're not going to do it. Right? Not even smarter than that. They're not going to do it. Yeah.
All right. So I got a question. Like, you guys think? Do you think that this offseason basically is kind of like the last straw from the organization where we're kind of looking at this the wrong way? It's not, is Brock going to get paid, but there's no way Brock will get paid that because of how the organization is moving forward. This offseason was pretty daunting as far as it wasn't just one guy, but you got multiple contracts with guys who are pretty much not earning their money right now. What do you guys think about that?
Well, why pay Brock when you have Brandon Allen anyway? I mean, Brandon Allen can push the ball down the field.
Right.
You know, he's not gonna turn down open receivers like Brock does. I mean, kind of perfect for what Kyle wants. Just saying.
I feel like we're still searching for that next Steve Young, that next Joe Montana,
that next Brian Hoyer. Kyle's looking so hard for that next Brian Hoyer. Can
you
find
him? For him? Yeah.
Wave 9 says, "What if we beat the Bills? What's the perception? How? How's that gonna happen?
I don't see that, man. I really don't.
It's not gonna happen. I mean, write it down. It's not gonna happen." Official B&M Music 88 says, "If only we kept Moster." Me Cruising 302 says, "The more he's on the field, Purdy, the more his bag at the end of the year goes down. The more he's on the field." Yeah, I mean, him not being on the field kind of shows that he's not the issue. Matt McEwen says, "BT Dub Baker's better than Purdy, less weapons, more production." Stronger arm. Shake and Bake says, on this Niners team, talent and all, who would you take, Baker or Purdy? Just curious.
Baker.
I would take Baker. I would take Baker. Baker doesn't have arm issues. JDM 408 says Kyle Shanahan being allegedly buzzed before the Super Bowl shows he's not a serious head coach, in my opinion. Like he's trolling just to piss some of us off. LOL. You're trying to get me in trouble, JMD.
Yeah.
Whew. Fish and Chip says Superman would get injured in Kyle Shanahan's blocking schemes. I see what you did there. JDM 408 says, do another Jimmy Ward interview this offseason. It'll be interesting to hear what he has to say about the Niners now that he's not here anymore. I'll reach out to him. Good idea. Okay, next topic. Christian McCaffrey. Finally, Kyle Shanahan answered questions about him, why he's playing so much. And he said, we don't really rotate players. We got an entrenched starter. He's freaking good, just a little rusty. But and he said a bunch of stuff that contradicted himself. But at least he used words, English language. It was incredible. What do you think of Kyle Shanahan finally defending his decision to I don't even know what he's doing. Coach, go ahead.
I want to take this first. Number one, he just didn't make sense. He was talking out of both sides of his mouth. The first thing that he does is he says that most teams have a starting back rotation and the starter usually plays. Most teams don't do that. That's a lie. All right, it's flat out. My man, Detroit has a dual back system. The Bucks have a dual back system. Come on, bro. The Packers have a 3-back system. We saw 3-backs get off on us.
And Jahmyr Gibbs is better than any back the Niners have, and they don't overuse him, just for the record.
Bro, Kenny Walker III and Zach Charbonnet. The Seahawks have a dual back system. What are we doing here? So that right there was rich. So that's one. Two, he says that we didn't get a lot of opportunities to run the ball this week coming up. So, that's why we just didn't get him in there because, we just didn't run the ball enough. Who is the offensive coordinator? You ran the ball 14 times. You are the change that you seek, sir. You can fix this. I don't understand why you're sitting here trying to act like you actually have an offensive coordinator or he was talking from a position of my hands are tied. There was nothing we could do. Yeah, you could have done something. That's another thing.
2019 wasn't that long ago. I remember the Tevin Coleman, Raheem Mostert, Matt Breida. I remember that. What are you talking about?
Yes. Bro,
Mostert never started that year.
That the number one thing that we all learned about, this is pre-CMC, right? Before CMC got here, we were a running back by committee team. We all understood that whoever was coming out that week, Kyle would give everybody about 4 to 5 carries apiece. Whoever got the hot hand, whoever found cohesiveness with the offensive line, it was their day. And that's who we rode with that day. And there was no ego. We also gave Kyle credit for doing things like finding Jeff Wilson Jr. and applicating him into the offense later in the season when we were wondering why he wasn't playing before, when we had Mostert, Breida, and Coleman. So Kyle has done this many times before. Now, if you want to admit that wasn't all you, we can have that conversation. But what I'm saying is that what he was saying at the moment just didn't line up. And then he closes with this. Well, we want to keep Christian on the field as much as possible, and that the more carries that Christian gets, the stronger he gets and the more comfortable he gets. That right there is malfeasance. It kind of points out to me that you don't even know how to use Christian. So all of this time that you were spamming him last year, there was no intelligent design. He was just healthy enough to supplant all of the crap calls that you were giving him time in and time out, when last year we still should have been seeing Jordan Mason last year. So even this year, we see him running a square peg into a round hole, pushing Christian into inside runs when he doesn't deserve to be in there, seeing Christian be a shell of himself on trying to basically be athletic from getting a check down. How many routes are we going to see that are going to be sawed off before first down markers where Kyle designs something, but he relies on the player to do the rest? We don't have those players anymore. The answer that Kyle gave about Christian was he was not prepared. He was talking in circles. And lastly, I will close with this. Kyle likes to dip in between him being an offensive coordinator and a head coach when he answers questions. And the trajectory of the least road traveled and the least path of resistance is the avenue he takes. He answered that question like an offensive coordinator instead of a head coach. Lurie was asking him about the responsibility of playing Jordan Mason, not the technical stuff. So I just thought that it was BS.
Yeah. When he dips, you dip, we all dip, and it's crazy. Jesse.
I think my biggest issue was the contradiction about saying that nobody should think CMC was just going to come back and be the offensive player of the year. Like that's where my ears perked up, because he talked about, and very smartly, by the way, talked about, well, you know, he didn't have an offseason, and when players don't have an offseason, we can see it takes them a while to get to adapt to things. But then you add on the fact that he didn't play the first half of the season, it's really going to take him a while to get up to football speed. So, you know, I think anybody thinking he should just come out the gates and be an offensive player of the year is really unfair to him. Kyle, you're the only one that thought that. You're the one that played him every single snap out the gate, pretty much. We didn't think that. We've been saying, hey, let's give it a 50% share, 50% to him, 30% to Mason, 20% to Grindo. Everybody had it split up different, but I don't think anybody was higher than like 60% on CMC out the gates, because we wanted him to ease in. Nobody expected that. But Kyle, you're playing him as if he is that, and you're defending playing him as if he is that. It's almost like he gets up there and he's talking to himself. Like, you're the critic. You're the one that's actually making things happen, Kyle. We don't want that. We want Mason to play. Mason is clearly the younger player. Believe it or not, he's the fresher player, even though he's played this season, because his body hasn't taken the carries over the years that CMC has taken through college and what have you. He's the harder running player. He's the tougher to tackle. There's no reason not to play Jordan Mason. The only reason he's not playing is because of Kyle's decision. But yeah, Kyle, you're right. We shouldn't consider him as the offensive player of the year. That would be a crazy thing to do, right? He's talking to himself.
I think Jesse and the coach answered it really well. The two things that stood out to me, though, that weren't mentioned, like the first thing was his answer said, we're not a 3-man running back rotation team. That's the question, Kyle. The question is, why aren't you, right? Like, he answered the question just by repeating the question. Like, so that stood out to me. I didn't understand that. And then the other thing,
like, we don't make the rules. I just think them up and write them down. That's all. I don't understand.
And then Christian McCaffrey, when he was interviewed after the fact, was like, yeah, that's a narrative. Kyle started that narrative, Christian. Kyle is the one that told us that you refuse to come off the field. So it's, if there's a narrative created around that, was created by Kyle Shanahan. So thought that was interesting.
I think people forget they don't forget, but they underestimate how stubborn Kyle Shanahan is. And he says he doesn't listen to the outside noise. Yes, he does. He's acutely aware of what people are saying he should do. And for 3 years, not just for 6 months, not just for the last 3 weeks, but for 3 years, people have said, play Jordan Mason. What are you doing? He's one of your better players and you're just not using him. He could make things better. Why don't you share time? You're overusing Christian McCaffrey, and he resisted for years. And if in his mind, I think if he were to all of a sudden capitulate to all the pressure and finally split up the carries, it would be an admission that he was wrong and everyone else was right. And someone with a really secure self-esteem ego could be okay with that. I don't have to be right every time. I want to win. But he has to be right. And so Jordan Mason doesn't get to play. And he's going to play Christian McCaffrey if he's averaging 2 yards a carry and just give a word salad explanation as to why. The thing that really kills me about this, though, is what about Grindo? You traded up for him. You didn't want Jordan Mason, whatever, undrafted free agent. He's proven you wrong. He's making you look you don't know what you're talking about. But Grindo's your guy. You traded up for him to do what? To not play at all? He's averaging 6 yards a carry. He's much better at running back than he is as a kick returner. Explain that one. You didn't just wait for him to come to you you freaking traded up for this guy. And you don't want, and now you tell us that you don't rotate running backs. Then why is he here? Trade him. Get rid of him. You're not going to use him, and trade Jordan Mason too. It's a shame what they're doing to those guys. I mean, forget Garendo will get an opportunity maybe, but like Jordan Mason's in a contract year, and this is what you do to him. What?
Is it really all about the money? Is he that stubborn that he doesn't want to show that the money and what they gave Christian? Like, could it really be that? Is he that small? Like, I'm sorry for asking it that way, but like, it can't be that simple that we see glaring. They need to have a dual backfield, and it can't be because you don't want to prove that you were wrong. You don't want to show that you were wrong with the money that you gave Christian.
That's as small as it gets.
And what's crazy about that, if it is true, because we're speculating, but if it is true, that's not even fair to Christian. Like, you're not even helping him. You know, like, I know that we're looking at it from the Isaac Garendo and the Jordan Mason side of like, yo, play them, help the team. But how are you prolonging Christian's career by using him like this? You're not helping him. So
and you're hurting his confidence.
Yeah. Like, what you said about Christian, I took you at your word. He's affected by this. And it's like, you're killing his confidence by not finding the best way to use him, all because he's and you know what's crazy? It is true, because he started that entire answer off with, well, Christian's the starter. And, you know, we have a starting running back system here, and most teams don't do that. Off the bat right there, it's deflection and like, come on, bro, that's not true. Like, so I'm done. That's
Matt
crazy.
McEwen says, who's on their back more, Kim Kardashian or Jake Brendel? These are the questions that we ask each other on the four-man front. These are important questions. Lauren Crampsey says, Kyle, literally an enigma wrapped in riddles and cash. That's an image right there for sure. He's got a lot of the cash. Habitual line stepper, who's been very generous last few days, says play Piccolo. I don't even know what that means, but he said it with $100.
I looked it up. It's a small flute sounding an octave higher than an ordinary one. I don't know what that means.
How about that?
That's what it is.
So not quite a kazoo, but in between.
Yeah.
Lauren Crampsey says, all that matters is we win each game, yet I'm playing CMC, yet I'm having Fred on that Varsity Blues drip, yet I rap battle with Kittle. It's true. Just want to win each game, but actually we're going to treat Christian McCaffrey like he's in preseason, but we're also going to have Fred Warner shoot up his ankle and play through it because these are very important games, but we're going to throw them away by not playing our best players. There's a little bit of a disconnect there. Alan from Coles says, why does Kyle not tell the truth about injuries? What a simple yet pertinent question.
I have a question for you, Grant. Are they going to get fined for not reporting Brandon Allen's injury? Because I didn't see that.
They put it on it was on the week 10 injury report that week, and then he's off their injury report. My question is, why is he not on it anymore? The finger's still broken. Why is Fred Warner not on the injury report anymore?
Yeah. His ankle,
his ankle's still broken. Like, he should still be on it. I don't understand that.
Was he on? Did they disclose Fred Warner's ankle originally?
They did, but then he dropped off, like implying that he's all better, but I guess he's not. Giovanni Miller says, give me your guys' prediction. All of you guys, do they get rid of Purdy and explore different options? What's your guys' prediction? Maybe he's talking about the Purdy. Yeah. No, I think Purdy.
Get rid of Purdy. I don't think they'll get rid of Purdy, but I think that they're gonna slow play it.
I agree. Charlotte Q says, who would your top five people you would trade next year be from the team?
This is really hard.
Wants him.
That's if somebody will want him.
Debo, if anyone wants him. Anyone wants him. Who wants a fullback? The best fullback.
That's the problem. This is why I made the case at the trade deadline that they had to trade guys like Debo, CMC,
now
Ward. Obviously, Ward's not going to be on the roster unless they re-sign him. Greenlaw, same thing. They had to make those deals then, because if you waited, they're not going to be worth anything. And if they are worth something, it's a lot less than what they would have been at the trade deadline. Now it's really hard to name 5 that you should for sure trade, because a lot of those guys you don't necessarily want to trade. So I don't know. They shot themselves in the foot by holding on too long. They really did.
There's some contract implications that are going to prevent some of these guys from being traded. Like Debo's one of them. But if it was possible financially, I would trade over everybody over 28 outside of George Kittle, and I don't know how old Fred Warner is, but those are the only guys I wouldn't trade over age 28.
Habitual line stepper says special beam cannon. Still don't know what you're talking about, but thank you.
You know who's the top guy that I would trade?
Who?
Nick Bosa.
Why?
You get a lot for him.
I think you'd actually get real return for him. I think he's way too expensive to be on this team for what we need to do moving forward. We don't even have a defensive line that could supplant a $34 million a year pass rusher. We have way too many holes now. So he's kind of bloviated on what we need to do fiscally for the defensive line. And then on top of it, I think that it's time for us to just get a new voice. If we change from the wide 9, that doesn't specifically mean that Nick Bosa can be ready to be in the next defense that we have. And really, he's specifically here for that defense. And I think that the defense is kind of obsolete. And so is the skill set.
Official BNM Music 88 says, today my coworker asked me if I think the Niners should punt this on the season. I said, punt. Have you seen our special teams? R.O. Street says, motivation and culture trump talent. Now that the league has figured out Shanahan, he has nothing to offer. Dan Campbell is no genius, but he created a culture and hired his genius, OC. Yeah. Shake and Bake says, do y'all think CMC is actually washed due to injury, or is he running less confident because of his injury?
I think it's a combination of a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of a lot of things. One thing, he's a 28-year-old running back who's ran for a lot of freaking yards. So, I mean, at some point, the cookie's going to crumble, as they say. But I also think this O-line hasn't done a great job helping him necessarily. I think Kyle's a little predictable. I think he's also coming back from not playing all season. I think all those things factor in.
I want to say this real quick because, Grant, you had mentioned that they hadn't played Mason for 3 years, and we'd been asking for it. And I remember last year I said, I understand why they aren't playing Mason, even though everybody was clamoring for it, because it was clear he didn't know his assignments. He wasn't a good blocker. He wasn't a good route runner. He wasn't a great pass catcher. He was just a really good runner of the football, but that's not enough to get on the field. This year is different, though. He worked really, really hard on all of those things. I'm not saying he's the best blocking running back, but he's better than he was. He is a pretty good route runner. He can catch the ball now. I mean, he's almost automatic. Very, very good catcher of the football. And he has one lost fumble in his career and 180 something carries. So what is the excuse now as to why he can't get on the field? This year, it doesn't make sense. Last year, it made a lot of sense.
Dan says, when Tang is finally gone, does Kyle draft a fullback in the first round or evolve his offense? That assumes
fullback in the first round.
I want them to do what Harbaugh did, convert a DN. Maybe Nick Bosa could be like a $30 million fullback.
But you know what? I like that because that's almost kind of like the dad way of football. When you need new shoes, your dad just gives you the hand-me-downs. You don't need new shoes. Take these. A coach gets a fullback and he's like, get that D tackle who's barely going to make the team and put his ass in fullback. And now you got yourself a job making $200,000 a year. But for us, we got to make it glitzy and put $4 million into the skill set when it doesn't need that much for it to get done. If there's converted defensive tackles playing fullback, come on, man.
And somebody, I forget who it was.
He doesn't have a fullback on the field to be a lead blocker. He has a fullback on the field to get base defenses out there so they could throw against zone coverage. He wants a guy to be an offensive weapon who can catch one pass a game. That one pass a game he's catching it's integral. Oh my God, if they didn't have that.
If you're gonna have a fullback on the field, you would much rather have someone that can actually move bodies and be a blocker. Right?
Somebody said Nick Bosa at fullback.
Yeah.
So I mean, who got better than flashbacks? What?
I was gonna say, someone on Twitter brought it up. Jason Poe should have been the fullback. I don't know, what they should have kept Poe, made him the fullback.
Fish and Chip says, who's got it better than? Hold on, Giovanni Miller says, what's the pros and cons with Jimmy G and Brock Purdy? And what I mean by that is the similarities to them. Is it anything to be worried? LOL.
The similarities.
Their career trajectory, their career arc is very similar.
Their injury
skill sets are different.
acclimation, their injury history. Yeah.
I don't think they're not really similar. I think Brock's more athletic than Jimmy before the injury, right? Before Jimmy got hurt. Jimmy's got does Jimmy have a strong? I don't know. Whose arm is stronger? This is like the shortest midget contest. I don't know.
Jimmy has a stronger arm, gets the ball out quicker. Brock's a better scrambler.
Yeah. Habitual line stepper says DBZ Piccolo Dobbs.
Oh,
this guy's throwing down hella money to speak in code.
That's
so
right.
Saying play Dobbs.
You know you get mad characters with 1999 habitual.
We were supposed to know that Piccolo is Dobbs? How? Why were we supposed to know that? Well, thank you for explaining it to me. I appreciate it. Shady Luke says it's funny when I watch the volume
like
with
Piccolo. Have you seen Piccolo off of Dragon Ball Z? That's why he said it.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna bring up a picture. No. Yeah.
All right, fair enough. Shady Luke says, it's funny when I watch the volume with Cowherd, John Middlecoff, a Bay guy refuses to give Shanahan blame. Colin, on the other hand, is more critical. Some people out here are scared of Kyle or indoctrinated by him, one or the other. I don't know. All right, before we go on, I want to just take a minute to acknowledge the sponsor of this week's four-man front, Hemp Gummies. Via. They're quite nice. Jesse knows what I'm talking about. Coach wishes. Ryan has no clue. These little suckers are pretty nice. And yeah, they taste good, but you guys want to know, do they pack a punch? And the answer is yes. To the point where I wouldn't eat these. I wouldn't eat. I mean, before a stream, oh my god, I don't think I could talk. If you want to just veg out and look at the wall all day, have a couple of these. You know what I'm saying? You might listen to Kendrick Lamar's album and you might discover Jesus. Who knows? You might see, who knows? The experience you would have, it's personal. But I'm just saying they taste good and there's different flavors. One flavor is blue, one flavor is red, one flavor is green. What's your favorite flavor?
Apple. I want that purple stuff.
No, they're actually flavors colors. You don't understand. So look, this holiday season, gift yourself some peace of mind. If you're 21 or over, check out the link to Via in the description and use code COHN to receive 15% off. After your purchase, they ask you where you heard it about them. Please support our show and tell them the four-man front sent you. This holiday season, enhance your every day with blue or green or red. When I was a kid, my favorite flavor was blue every time. You can't get a better flavor than blue, and I don't know why.
Blue
they would call it raspberry. Why did they call it raspberry? It's not raspberry.
That's actual flavor.
It's blue.
The only color that's actually a flavor is orange. It's both.
Oh,
that's true. That's true. But I feel like I know what purple tastes like.
Purple drink. I want that purple drink.
It doesn't taste exactly like grape. It's a little different. Purple's a little different than grape.
Yo, remember Topeka juice? Remember Topeka?
Of course.
It wasn't real juice. It was almost like
we almost could have called juice. We could have called Use Check Topeka, but Tang got there first. He could have been Topeka. It's about $2 for a full
Topeka,
gallon.
It's Tapico. Sorry. Tapico.
No,
Topeka's the orange juice.
Oh.
Tapico is what I'm talking about.
Well, they don't sponsor the show. Via does. And I just want to remind everyone, it's green. Look, it's green. That's a good color and a good flavor. And it's pretty strong. Okay. Dre Greenlaw, first practice back. Is he going to save this defense? I mean, nothing's going to save them this week in Buffalo. They're going to lose by a bajillion points, roughly, give or take. But after that, freaking Chicago. Is this guy going to come back and save the season like he always has before?
Yeah, this sounds a lot like a conversation about 5 weeks ago when we were talking about Christian McCaffrey, if he would come back and save the season. Season's over, guys. It's over. It's been over. Been saying this for a long time. He's better than Campbell. Yes, he is an upgrade. I'm not saying that even if he comes back and he's at 70% like CMC, he's still better than Campbell is. That is factual. However, he's not going to save this defense. You know what I noticed when I was watching the game back on All 22 this week? The 49ers personnel groupings make no sense on defense at all. Anytime they face 12 or 21 personnel, they were a nickel. Why are you a nickel? You're going to get ran on. And not only that, they had two high safeties. So they're playing middle field open nickel base against 12 and 21 personnel. You're inviting teams to just run all over you. And that's exactly what the Packers did. And every time they actually matched 12 or 21 with a base defensive package, they did pretty good. So a lot of it is just getting the right players on the field, getting the right alignments. That's half the battle. And if they can figure that out, which, I mean, my gosh, man, a defensive coordinator can't even get that together. That's a bit concerning. Yes, the missed tackles are one thing, but when you're asking your corners to make the tackles consistently on big running backs, this is what happens. That's why you go base package. So yeah, sure, he'll help, but he's not going to be enough to just turn everything around. They have a lot of problems on this team defensively.
Yeah, I think he's more likely to save the Texans season next year. I think he's going to not be himself this year when he comes back. I think it's going to take the full offseason next year to get him back to the Dre Greenlaw that he was. So I think expecting him to save the 49ers defense this year. Is he better than Campbell? Yeah, absolutely. It'll help in that regard, but he's not going to change things around to the point where they're a dominant defense again instantly like that. And I don't even know. To me, if I'm the 49ers, I'm Dre Greenlaw. I'm watching what happens in Buffalo. I'm watching what happens in Chicago. And then if they have a chance, I might come back for the Lions game. Other than that, I'm not playing this year. I don't think the 49ers should. I think it's irresponsible.
Agreed. I just don't think I don't have the stomach to see Dre out there and not see him the last time I saw him. I don't think that they should just put him out there for the sake of, trying to get team morale up. When another thing is just conditioning. For us to even like remotely see what Dre Greenlaw could be, he would have to play for at least 3 of those games that were out here just so we can get conditioning. The role that he has, are you going to play him in a reduced role? Are you just going to roll him out there and have him playing like business as usual? Also, just motivation differences can be different. We're not a winning team. We're not necessarily trying to chase the playoffs. Should you be pushing his career at this stage of the season and basically potentially losing him for good? That's an element of it. And just for my taste, just the team dynamics are not right to have him back. We're not a winning team. The defense is a winning defense. We're not one player away. You know what I mean? And for what it's worth, Fred Warner is struggling and going through one of his hardest years because, to be real with you, he's not being protected. Those defensive tackles are getting beat up on the inside. And the last thing I want is for Dre to kind of get into that crossfire at this stage right now. So I'm not really too excited to see him back.
I think there's no freaking chance in hell that Greenlaw can do that. And it's unfair to ask him to. Just look at McCaffrey.
Yeah.
He missed 8. He missed an off season in 8 games. He didn't even tear his Achilles. He had tendonitis and avoided the tear and came back, and he's a shell of himself for now. Greenlaw tore his Achilles.
Yeah.
It hasn't even been 12 months. It's been 10 months, and he's going to come back and be Greenlaw? I think if they put him back out there, it's more likely that he's a complete shell of himself, and it'd be almost sad to watch. I hope I'm wrong. But that's what I'm seeing with Christian McCaffrey. It's almost hard to watch Christian right now. It's ugh, man, this is not. And I think it's hard for him to actually go out there and put that on tape, considering the standard he's had for himself. I think if we're being realistic, if Greenlaw plays at all this year, he may not be better than Devondre Campbell this year.
That's true.
That's gonna be hard. That's gonna be hard not to do.
True. Okay, last topic.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
You've got to put Dream Rivers' comment up on the screen at 9:51.
What?
Go to comment. 9:51.
Dream River.
Who are we talking?
Dream River.
Dream River. 9:51. Didn't Kyle throw the ball between rooftops or something? If so, we're good. I don't know why that made me laugh so hard, man. He
did do that. That felt like 8 years ago. Okay. So the Niners might win a playoff game this year if they get there. I know the Rams haven't won a playoff game since they won the Super Bowl 3 years ago. Are the Niners going to be sliding into a time like the Rams are going through right now, or are they going to have a quick bounce back? What do you guys think? When's the next time the Niners are going to win a playoff game?
Next year.
The year after next.
I think they're going to the playoffs. Yeah.
To me, the 49ers are just going to get older. They haven't already drafted the pieces they need to be better next year on the offensive line. They should have done that last year, the year before that. They still have to draft replacements for Brendel, Trent Taylor, Colton McKivitz. Banks is going to be a free agent. Who knows what's going to happen to Greenlaw? He might be gone. Huff might be gone. Nick Bosa's older. George Kittle's older. CMC's older. Debo's older. I feel like they are next year. Like they might have a better record next year, but I don't see how they have a better roster. I think it's going to take 2 years for this team to get back in it.
I think they're a couple years behind everybody right now in the NFC. That's good. I mean, you've got the Lions who have a jump start. They're where we were at like 4 years ago. You've got the Eagles that they just always stay good. I mean, their roster construction has been phenomenal for a long time now. Long time. So they're ahead of the curve. You've got Arizona and Seattle who have started their rebuild a year or two ago. So they're a couple years ahead of the 49ers. I don't think that the 49ers win a playoff game until the 2027 season. So not next year or the year after. I think we're 3 years away from them winning another playoff game, personally.
Damn, that's bleak. I'm going to say they'll win another playoff game when they get a new head coach. I think Kyle's done
2035.
Yeah, I think Kyle's done here. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if the Yorks will let him. I think he has to win playoff games to stay employed in year 8, 9, 10. And he's not going to do it this year. I don't see what's going to be so different about next year. You could swap out Nick Sorensen and bring in, Dennis Allen or whatever, but it's not going to be better. The culture's still the problem. The problem with this team is the culture, and he's the one who sets it, and he doesn't even realize that. So I think when they get a new coach, then we could talk about it. But until then, this is going to be a team that's going to be somewhere between 7-10 and 10-7 and a first round exit from the playoffs.
Well, that's making the playoffs.
Sure. But we're talking about when they're going to win the playoff game.
Oh, winning a playoff game.
Yeah, it was right. We wrote it, and then I said it.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
It's going to be a couple of years. I'll tell you this. Listen, man, today's a long day. So look, kind of just recant, kind of bring that back. All right. Yeah, I think it's going to be about 2-3 years. But I do think they'll make the playoffs next year because I think we'll just kind of get like the push, the last like final push from Kyle to do everything because he's going to coach scared next year. I saw it when he was with the Commanders back in 2012, and I saw them rail off 7 games in a row because he completely changed that offense. He threw it all down. He did it for his father, right? His dad was about to get canned, and he literally changed the whole offense. And for 3 months, it was weird. But for 2 to 3 months, Kyle he had self-awareness. He was changing things on the fly. I think this year, in my opinion, organization is livid with him. They have to be for how the offseason happened and for them to pay the money that they paid and for it to roll out the way it has this year. These haven't been just losses that we saw coming. A lot of these losses have been shocking. In my opinion, I think that next year he's going to push everything just to make the playoffs. But in 2 to 3 years, no, I don't see it. The free agency with the new contracts, and then the other teams are coming. So we had our window last year. We got to get back to the back of the line, get back to the queue.
Good news, Niner fans. Check out the Saints. That's going to be you. We got about a couple minutes left. Let's hit these last super chats and get going. Stop sending super chats. The show is ending. Alan from Cole says, do you think it's best if we don't make the playoffs? Best? No, make the playoffs if you can. Tampico, man. It's good for you, too. It's nutritious. Got a lot of vitamins. Keith Murphy, the unbeaten, says, Coach, if your son can ball, he gets fresh shoes. If he sits the bench, hand-me-downs.
Yeah, that's true.
Habitual Line Saver says, the coach got it. We're talking about Piccolo. I'm looking at pictures of Piccolo. I see it. Our Illustri says, took Shanny years to build a Super Bowl roster. Harbaugh took the existing roster and took them to the Super Bowl. Maybe they can get Harbaugh. Oh, Keith Murphy Unbeaten says, isn't Greenlaw a free agent? He might want to put some tape out there and not sit this season. That is true. MD 2020 says, unfortunately, I predict the Niners get obliterated by the Bills 49-17. Dobbs will play in the full fourth quarter. 49. And that's
17.
completely.
I'm more shocked by 17. Like, you think they're going to score 17?
Yeah, with Brandon
I don't
Allen
think the offense
in the
is
snow.
gonna score 17. No.
Good call. Shake and Bake says, if you're the GM and the Niners miss the playoffs, what are your next moves to bring this team back to Super Bowl contention? Well, we have 2 seconds to get into that one. Fire Kyle. Okay, Rodney Herron, I speak for everyone, I think, says, Kyle is Will Smith, Grant is Chris Rock. Get my running back out of here. Wow. Wow. MD 2020 says, speaking of winning, propers to Grant getting over 121K subs. Baby. I love the show. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Keith Murphy, the Unbeaten, says, I say next year win a playoff game, but they don't have to pay Brock. 2 losing seasons in a row with a quarterback in a rookie scale is a fireable offense. He's on the verge of his 4th losing season in 10. He's on the verge of his 4th losing season in 8 years. Andy Reid's had 3 in 26. Tomlin's had 0 in 18. John Harbaugh's had 1 in 17. And that's not the end-all be-all stat of a coach, but if you're a really good coach, I'm thinking you can avoid 7 and 10. Let's see if Kyle can do it this year, guys. Great show. Coach was the best one today. Coach wins. I base that on nothing.
Oh, yeah. Is this what we're doing? I didn't know that.
No, I just decided that. Right? Coach wins. Hold on. Let me look at my. Yeah, man, he won by a little bit. Good one.
But in fairness, we all decided we were tanking.
That's true. We were punting this game. We do better next week. Guys, thank you. Joshua, what did I tell you, Joshua? We'll be the Saints. Carr is ranked 5th in adjusted EPA, though we could, right? And on that note, thank you very much, Joshua Edwards. That was a perfect comment. We'll be back next week on whose channel?
Ryan's.
Make sure you subscribe to all of our channels. Now, have a great night, everyone. Take care.